Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you'll be listening to a hypnosis session created for a client that would have recurring physical sensations in a particular part of their body that were uncomfortable and not necessarily painful, but linked to some kind of connotation of discomfort or unease. And they didn't want to keep feeling those particular things. But what's interesting with the human body is that it's only capable of giving its attention to approximately 7 chunks of information at any point in time. And that's how you can have the situation of being in a room with a ticking clock, and even though the clock is absolutely ticking, you don't notice it's ticking because your attention is on other things. A lot of people have had the experience of having some kind of headache or toothache, and because they're immersed in something during the day, for that time, the pain exists, but they don't feel it. And that gives us a clue as to how attention can play its role. This hypnosis session uses an element of regression to a time where they didn't have these sensations, but then also lots of direct suggestions about how they can notice something and have this feeling that it's going to be temporary and get ever decreasing levels of intensity. And there's various metaphors for that. So if you think of, you throw a pebble into a pond, the ripples are quite big to begin with and get smaller and smaller. Or an echo, the loud noise has an echo, but the echo gets quieter and quieter. So these are the kind of metaphors that you're going to hear throughout this session to give an idea of reducing intensity. And there's a few others in there as well. To get the most out of this, I would say think of some kind of thought, feeling, or emotion that when it comes up, you don't particularly like it. And then think of that when you're listening to this session, so that whether it's a thought, whether it's a physical sensation, whether it's just an emotional feeling, you can get the benefit of this session, which is highlighting that you can acknowledge it, but it's becoming less and less prevalent in your present, and in your future will be so minimal that it's barely recognizable. Obviously, this session was created for an individual client. Not all the suggestions are going to be relevant to you. So if you do feel that you might benefit from a bespoke one-to-one session with me, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule that free consultation call. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that long, slow, relaxing breath. And as you exhale, give permission to really let go of any feelings of stress, tension, or worries. Feeling as you're breathing in a wonderful feeling of resourceful relaxation, and just allowing any tension in the forehead, the jaw, around your eyes to melt away in that outward breath. In fact, I want you to think of a bright colour that represents the most powerful, useful resources. And maybe that's confidence, relaxation, a feeling of health and vitality. Whatever that colour is, just imagine breathing in that colour, that bright, vibrant colour, and as you exhale, imagine something darker leaving your body, something grey or shadowy, and allow that to represent any fears, worries, stresses or strains. Niggling thoughts, just allow it to leave your body in that outward breath. Imagine it leaving your body and then take another deep breath in of this bright, vibrant colour. All the resources your body needs right now. Breathing it in, exhaling out those greys and shadows. And the deeper you breathe, the more resourceful you're feeling. And the more resourceful you're feeling, the deeper you breathe. As you consider this a hypnotic transfusion. Some anesthetics are not injected, don't come in a pill or a potion. They're a gas that you breathe in. So imagine this vibrant, bright colour of resources being a hypnotic anesthetic. Breathe in that colour, feel like you're drifting off to a time where you felt free, relaxed, and healthy. As you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to recall a time you were driving. Maybe you can remember a specific car, open roads, just you driving somewhere. Maybe you had a destination in mind and maybe you didn't. But I want you to feel like you're back behind the wheel, driving. I want you to notice how relaxed you feel. Maybe you could imagine music was playing. But I want you to get a sense of how relaxed and free you felt. No stress, no strains, no worries, nothing to think about, but just to be. And I want you to imagine this road turns from a road into a country road. And the country road then turns into some kind of off-road trail. Just imagine that you've slowed down, but still feel completely free, completely relaxed. I want you to think of the road as being things you think about all the time. Allow the country road to think about things you only think about occasionally. And allow the off-road trail to represent things you hardly ever think about. So imagine being perhaps in a Jeep, off-road. Notice your surroundings until you find some kind of opening, completely peaceful, no one around, maybe out in the wilderness, out in nature, out in thoughts you rarely think about. And somewhere nearby, now that you've left the car, just imagine some small pond. Imagine blue skies. Imagine sunshine. But there's something about this pond that is so still. The surface is reflective. And I want you to stare into your own reflection in the pond and think of a specific birthday. A birthday where you prioritized your needs. And sometimes we do that. We stare into a fixed point, access a memory, drift off in our own imaginations. So think of a birthday where you put yourself first. You were the priority, not in a selfish way, but in a way that gave you permission to have your needs met. Feel a wonderful feeling of you didn't have to sacrifice your quality of life for other people, that the opposite was true. By you enjoying yourself, other people were also able to enjoy themselves. As you get this sense that sometimes things just sort themselves out. In the past, there were celebrations that you had to think too much and do too much. But as you recall this birthday, the less you did, the more things naturally gravitated to a way of having it work out best for everyone. And if you can recall that feeling that the less you did, the better it worked out, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that as you recall that feeling of self-care, the relaxation of letting go of worries and expectations of what has to happen, things worked out fine. So just imagine back there out in nature, staring into a still pond, getting a sense that everything in the world that grew had a point where it was just an idea, just a seed. Every tree was a seed at one point. Every animal was just two cells originally. And therefore, every sensation, every tingle, every feeling had a point of inception. It came from somewhere. Anything that can be created can be replaced or changed, adapted or evolved. So imagine staring into the pond, feeling that new seeds of ideas are being planted deep in your subconscious mind that improves the quality of your life, not by thinking more, but by thinking less. Not by doing more, but by doing less. As you stare into the pond, you can accept that certain sensations that you've been feeling are real, but they no longer need your attention. You can choose to give them attention, but they don't need it. Just like guests at a party. They don't need you to do anything. And maybe you consider these sensations like background noise that fades into silence. And what if every time you feel a certain tingling sensation, you imagine it diluting, becoming softer, gentler, like ripples on a pond growing still. The ripples are real, but don't last forever, until it's back to stillness. And you recognize that any false signals, maybe where it feels like you have to do something, are simply illusions that you can acknowledge and then release. If they're real, they will return, and if they're not, you get to do things on your terms. Each breath you take helps the intensity of these sensations fade, like a mist disappearing in the morning sunlight. It's real, it's there, and then it's not. And you can feel these sensations softening with every exhale, as though your body is letting go of unnecessary tension. Because no sensation can last forever. There's been moments that you've stubbed a toe, felt real pain, and then it faded. A time when you accidentally burnt yourself. The pain was real, but it doesn't exist now. All sensations fade. And what if you imagined that undesirable sensations are like a ticking clock, present but unimportant, and your focus naturally drifts elsewhere? That you have the power to allow these feelings to exist without judgment, knowing that they will soon fade away. Just like a wave that rises and gently retreats. Allow these sensations to come and go without feeling that you need to do anything with them. If you were staring into the sea, seeing the waves rise and fall doesn't mean you have to do anything with the waves. And the less you do, the less important they become. Because each time a particular sensation arises, what if you automatically remind yourself, this could be a false signal, and I can let it pass. You've had times where you've set an alarm and the alarm was important, but sometimes the same alarm goes off at a different time and it isn't important. Allow yourself to believe that some of these sensations are false alarms, going off but not needing you to do anything. What if you were to choose to approach these sensations with curiosity rather than concern? That you can be curious, noticing them, but not needing to do anything, and just notice how quickly they fade whenever you do that. What if your mind naturally finds more enjoyable and engaging things to focus on? The sensations may even still be there, but they just fade into the background. that you can direct your thoughts to memories of comfort, peace, and ease, which grow stronger and more vivid. And just like turning the dial on a radio, why would you voluntarily choose to listen to a radio station you don't like when you can tune into something that's preferable? Start to think of these sensations as just because they exist doesn't mean you need to tune into them. Change the dial, change the frequency, and choose to focus on things that are more enjoyable and useful for you. And each time a sensation arises, what if your mind instinctively redirects to something calming, leaving the sensation behind, as you find it increasingly easy to immerse yourself in activities that bring you happiness, while these sensations quietly fade away? They can be a reminder to be mindful, to do things you enjoy, to think of things you enjoy, to make decisions that improve your life. In which case, these sensations become less significant and only enrich the quality of your life. Because these sensations have served their purpose, and now they can drift away, just like a cloud dissolving in the sky after the rain has fallen. And maybe you can imagine these sensations like an echo, growing fainter and fainter until it's no longer there. And sometimes things change so subtly you don't realize they're gone until they're gone. There was a time that you had maybe some kind of mild injury, and to begin with there was pain and awareness. But as the healing took place, it reached a point that the sensations just disappeared without you realizing they'd even gone. As you remind yourself that how things used to feel, calm and unnoticed, will naturally and effortlessly return. That with every passing moment, these sensations, as real as they may be, are losing their power over you. And as they lose their power, their significance, the intensity also decreases, leaving you feeling grounded, comfortable and free, gradually moving into this more desirable future that reminds you of a time when these sensations weren't even noticeable at all. So imagine seeing a reflection of yourself in that still pond a year or two in the future, where that version of you no longer even notices these kind of sensations. The tingles have gone. Other weird or uncomfortable sensations are so infrequent they're unnoticeable. As you look at the reflection, get a deep conviction that the future will arrive sooner than you think, without you needing to do anything. And then as you leave the pond, climb back in your car and take a journey backwards, first driving off-road, old trails, And then the trails lead to a country road. The country road leads to a normal road. And then some kind of motorway or highway. All the way back to the present, taking all the changes and thoughts with you. That's it. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling resourceful, optimistic, feeling a release of things you need to do, and more willing to go with the flow on your terms. Starting to count. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes as it's time to return to the present. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.